If I messed that up, I severely apologize.
I'll answer to that. It's totally fine.
And I'm Dutch too. Carol is an MBA in marketing strategy and insights expert with more than 20 years experience. She's led the positioning, branding, and innovation development for multi-million to billion-dollar brands. Plus she works in chocolate. There is no sweeter job. Hundreds of authors have benefited from her marketing expertise. She's delivered the keynote address for Women Who Write, spoken at Writers Digest, New Jersey SCBWI, and NJRW's annual conference. Authors have called her bright, creative visionary, a presentation powerhouse, and crowd favorite with energy, ideas, opportunities that are terrific, wonderful, engaging, meaty, food for thought. Carol has earned a Bachelor of Science in Engineering and Master's in Business Administration. She, her husband, and twins have lived in the U.S., China, and share a home with their Siberian rescue cat. Welcome, Carol Vanden.
I might need a little technical assistance then. Yes. Can someone see if they can turn that on? It's probably not my forte here. Hey, Bobby, you want to take a peek? I don't know how to do this. Can you turn that on? All right, but we're going to get started while we're figuring out the technology. So good afternoon, everyone. I promise in this session there are no gongs. Instead, there's chocolate. And I think it's great. We are a room full of entrepreneurs, right? And we have spent the day talking about craft and plot, and we've been learning about publishing. We might need to know a little bit about marketing, right? Authors, entrepreneurs. Yesterday, I was listening to a podcast. Richard Branson was being interviewed, and he said entrepreneurs are essentially someone who's come up with an idea to help other people. And actually, I think that's a great definition, and a lot of what authors do, right? We are writing to be able to help others by entertaining them, or inspiring them, or educating them to open minds and to change behavior. So that's pretty powerful stuff. Hang on one second. I'm going to see if I can get this to work. Okay. Yay. So what we're going to talk about today for the next 45 minutes, we're going to answer your questions, and we're going to talk about what is brand. We're going to define brand. How is that related to visual identity? And then platform. What is a platform? How do you build it? I'm going to share 5 principles around platform. Sound good? Yeah. Excellent. All right. So show of hands, who knows how the term branding even came about? Anybody know the history, the background? Yes?
Well, only that it was marking animals for feed.
Absolutely. So branding was the physical act of branding the hide of cattle, and ranchers would do this to show ownership. This is my cattle. But what happened over time was that brand mark became associated with the quality of the ranch of that cattle. And that's what a brand essentially is. It's standing for the quality or the promise that you stand for. And let's define brand, because sometimes people come to marketing events and they say, well, brand is a product or a service, it's a thing. How can it be a person? Actually, authors, it's really important to know and be your personal brand. So if we define brand, it's simply the unique positioning, relevance, meaning, and differentiation of a person, product, or service. And in this case, I can really simplify it down to just one concept. It is your promise. What promise are you making to your readers through your writing? What message are you putting out into the world? I like to differentiate that from visual identity. Sometimes these things get a little mixed up, but actually, visual identity then is how you would represent that brand promise in a visual way, on your website, on your book cover. And it's important to think about how do you want to represent that visual identity. and then to be incredibly consistent. And why do we need that consistency? Sadly, attention spans have dropped from what Sally Hogshead says in agrarian times were 20 minutes long. There's a 9 up there. Do you think attention spans have dropped to 9 minutes long? 9 seconds! Attention spans, and especially among millennials. Lower attention spans among millennials, 9 seconds long. So that's all the time you have to break through, to land your brand promise, and you need that visual consistency so that you're instantly recognizable. That is how brands are built. I do entire workshops on visual identity, on branding, but today we're going to dive into another topic, which is platform. So these 3 things are related, interrelated. Understanding your brand promise. How does that translate to visual identity? And then how do you build your platform? So platform, quite simply, if you're to define it, is your ability to reach your audience and then convert them to sales. Now, why is that important? Where has this idea come from? Earlier today, Marissa asked, is anyone writing nonfiction? No one raised their hands. Oh, there are some. Sorry, yay! So maybe you know, the idea of having a platform and publishers expecting people to have platforms started with nonfiction. Publishers expected nonfiction authors to have a built-in audience and to be able to show why do you have credibility in that area. You know, why are you uniquely qualified to speak on that topic? Why are people going to want to listen to you? And then what's happened is over time, from nonfiction, publishers then started to expect that for memoir. Show of hands, anyone writing memoir? Yes. So then, publishers were expecting people who are writing memoir to also have that built-in audience that they could convert to sales. And now it's expected for fiction as well, to be able to build that audience, to be able to convert them to sales. So sometimes when people think about platform or when they think about marketing, they think that it's synonymous with social media. Social media is part of it, but it's not the only thing. And so this actually shows lots of different ways to build platform, and social media is actually only one piece of that. It can be through your expertise, your organizations, other places beyond just social media to build that platform. And in fact, there's a really interesting concept called the butterfly effect. A butterfly is something really delicate and small. But if you create a little ripple, a butterfly ripple, that can have a longer effect. So, connecting with people, connecting with readers, finding your audience, building that rapport and the relationship with those readers, that will ripple out into a bigger and bigger effect. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that and the important things to keep in mind to have that ripple effect really play out. Make sense so far? Awesome. Good. All right, so 5 principles for building your platform like an entrepreneur, an authorpreneur and entrepreneur. The first one, and I think probably the gong exercise really embedded this into all of our brains as well as all the conversation earlier today, is this relentless pursuit of near perfect product. The craft that we put onto the page, the attention to detail, the capturing the reader's imagination, raising questions in their mind, having the rising action, inciting incidents, all of that is super important. So sometimes marketing, people think, well, it's just about how to manipulate people into getting them to buy my book. But actually, you have to start with such high quality product. It does start absolutely with the craft. And we've been talking about books all day long. So we're going to pivot a little bit and talk about another example to bring this point home. It's after lunch, so we're going to talk for a moment about ice cream. Does anyone know this brand? Does anyone recognize what this is? Anyone know the story? Raise your hand if you recognize this. It's a fairly new brand. What do you think it is?
Carvel?
It does look like Carvel, doesn't it? I grew up on Carvel in West Caldwell. Hi.
Is it Sweet Jesus?
Ooh, I don't even know sweet cheeses.
I just-
Now I want to check that out.
Maybe probably you don't.
Oh, okay, no, you wouldn't recommend it?
Not really.
So, in case you haven't heard of this brand, it's called Halo Top. You've heard of it? Yeah. It's a really interesting brand, and the reason I bring it up is the story behind this brand is incredible. So this guy, and I don't remember exactly what he had, maybe he was diabetic, he had some kind of health condition, but he loved ice cream and didn't want to give that up. He had a major sweet tooth, which I can relate to, and he was relentless in his pursuit of finding an ice cream that tasted great and didn't have the high sugar and had high protein, all the things he was looking for. Dozens and dozens of recipes, trying over and over with he went to a garage sale and bought one of these like homemade ice cream makers and was like trying different recipes at home until he found this near perfect product. Now, the reason that's really interesting is what happened after he created this near perfect product. He made it for himself, and his friends started to try it, and they were like, this is really good, and I don't feel guilty. Low in sugar, high in protein. He started to get the word out there. He was living in LA, and one of his friends happened to know an editor at GQ magazine. This editor said, this is a really interesting idea, and meanwhile, he's like hand making it, trying to get distribution, trying to get a brand out there. So GQ magazine runs an article that says, what happens if you eat nothing but this magical ice cream for 10 days? That led to an article in BuzzFeed which said, have you ever heard of Halo Top? Here you can have something low sugar, high protein, and their motto is, don't stop till your spoon hits the bottom. Eat the entire pint. The entire pint is sometimes only 270 to 320 calories. I'm not trying to be a commercial for Halo Top. And I actually have never even tried the ice cream, but it's such an interesting story. Because of his relentless pursuit of near perfect product, it created this people to be incredibly passionate about his brand and wanting to get it out there. And so look what happened. This is not that long ago. 2013 was when he first identified this unmet need in his own life. By 2015, he was, just barely trying to get some distribution and trial. After the article came out in GQ and then BuzzFeed, it jumped up in the next year to 66 million, and then last year was over $100 million in sales. This is the power of passion because you've put so much love and craft into your work that's translated into word of mouth. Real life example, not just conceptual. In fact, entrepreneurs know this. You as entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs as well. Entrepreneurs use a measure called Net Promoter Score. Anyone ever heard of Net Promoter Score? Yes? Yeah. So you probably know that Net Promoter Score, it's a really simple question. If entrepreneurs can ask their fans or their followers or their readers just one question, the only question they would ask is how likely are you to tell your friends and family about X, Y, or Z? On a scale of 1 to 10. A really deceivingly simple question. Here's the key. They are not looking for 7s or 8s. Those actually don't even count in the Net Promoter Score. Your Net Promoter Score is the percentage of people who are willing to put 9 or 10 on that scale and then subtract out everybody 6 and below. It's pretty hard to get a high Net Promoter Score. You need people to be that passionate, to be like 9 or 10. That's how willing I am to tell my friends or family about this product or person or place or service. The 7s or 8s, you might say, oh, well, that's a pretty good score. If I get a 7 or 8, I feel okay about that. An entrepreneur would say that's not good enough. That's how high of a bar you need to aim for. And I think that's pretty telling. Okay. So those were the first 2 principles. Relentless pursuit of near perfect product, and then recruit more promoters, 9s or 10s, than detractors, the 6s and below. Third principle, is first you're getting reach, and then you're converting. So it is a funnel. Sometimes you hear about that, the funnel, right? So you need to get awareness at the very top. This is where you're tapping into your network. You can use social media, your organizations. There are different ways to do this, to get awareness. The key is, if you know your brand promise, and then you have a consistent visual identity, you're able to connect and resonate with those people who want to know your message, who resonate with your promise. And you're getting awareness then among the right people. From awareness, what you're doing is you're converting them to trial. And trial might just be, they pick up your book, they read the back cover blurb, they look you up on Amazon. You want to transfer that trial then to actually buying a book and then repeating, buying your next book, looking at your backlist, becoming a fan, and so loyal that they're willing to give you a 9 or 10 on Net Promoter Score and give you the word of mouth to then create that butterfly effect and ripple out because they're telling their friends and family in person, on social media, and it creates this bigger effect. This is how it works together. Now, I've been in marketing for more than 20 years, and I know that this funnel is hard stuff because at the awareness level, sometimes trial might only be 10% of the people that are aware. Remember, we are fighting for 9 seconds of attention. We are all living busy lives. We're bombarded with 5,000 marketing messages a day. And therefore, we really have to do a great job to be able to translate people from awareness to trial to repeat and then to have them be fans. So again, back to the relentless pursuit of your perfect product. It all works together. All right, plan early. So this is principle number 4 when it comes to building your platform. Start early. One of my friends, she's a marketer, and she launched her first book. This is what she put together for her marketing plan. And she told me this with complete humility. She said, I wrote 5 Facebook posts in advance of the launch, which I was planning to time out 1 a week, and I figured I was done. That's my marketing plan. She did that a month before her launch. Do you think she was successful? No, you guys are entrepreneurs, you know. This is not enough. You have to start really early. In fact, maybe 6 or 9 months early, because there are some tactics that are long lead time tactics. For instance, sometimes people don't think about using media on PRable topics. And for long lead time print magazines, for instance, they might be planning out their publications and what their articles are about 6 or 9 months in advance. Especially if you're writing in a topic that has PR value, there is a lot of value in thinking about how do you use media. And again, back to that pie chart, it's more than just social media. It's all of those elements. And PR is wonderful because there's not even a cost. If you're able to get a magazine or someone to write about you, there's not even a cost associated with doing that. It's just the legwork. Okay, so these are lots of different tactics, many of which I know you are familiar with because you're out there doing them yourselves. Yes, you have a question.
Just in terms of timing, what about the paid advertising side of things? How long do you think in advance we should do that?
So it depends on the type of paid advertising. The question is, how much in advance are you planning out the paid advertising? For social media, it's not that long of a lead time. You can buy Facebook ads. Some of this paid media, I mean, if we're talking about TV or print or radio, those are longer lead time. But individual authors probably have a hard time affording that, and even authors who are within publishing houses. I'm working with a publishing house right now on a marketing plan to relaunch a book for an author who is on the all the bestseller lists.
Can you tell me who it is?
I can talk a little bit about that. In fact, that might be a nice case study.
Yeah.
In fact, so I'm working with Hachette on relaunching James Redfield's The Celestine Prophecy, which came out 24 years ago, sold so many copies. The first 2 books were on the bestseller list for, I want to say, 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years. And so I'm working with them on marketing tactics to relaunch that book, which is really exciting, yeah. And happy to talk about it during, during Q&A or afterwards. But thank you for the question, because yes, the lead times are different depending on the tactics. I think one of the key points on this chart, when you see all these different tactics, is that as you are planning your marketing plans, you want to stack your tactics so they're happening at the same time. So that readers are seeing your launch, your author brand, at the same time on, whether it be Facebook or Instagram, or if you're buying ads, or, so they're getting this feeling that they're surrounded. You need more than once to break through. Again, when you're so busy, when people's lives are so incredibly busy and they're bombarded with lots of things, you need to really be able to break through. I did this experiment one time. I was in New York, I took the train into Penn Station, and I was walking to my media agency, which is only 2.5 blocks away. So I was walking to MediaCom, and I figured, well, you know what, let me just see how many ads I'm bombarded with. In those 2.5 blocks, can you imagine, do you have any sense, do you have any guesses, how many?
300 easily.
Yeah, it was almost 300 in fact, between every billboard and sales sign and store banner. I was exhausted by the time I got to MediaCom. It's incredible how much all of us are bombarded, and that's the job of authorpreneurs, is to break through all of that. All right. So, principle number 5. This is really interesting. It's not just about the marketing tactics, because sometimes you go to writers' conferences and you come away from a marketing session thinking, oh, I have such a laundry list. I have to create my website, and I need to build my email list, and I need to use the word free because that's the most powerful word in marketing. And and those things could be true, but as a veteran career marketer, I have always found it really critical to take a pause first before jumping into any of the tactics, to just think about your strategy. Think about that brand promise. Think about how it translates to visual identity. And then when it comes to the marketing plans, what are you trying to achieve? Give yourself some numeric targets. Give yourself a target for awareness, for trial, for repeat. And then come up with the strategies that match up with your brand promise. Who is going to resonate with your message the most? And what are they going to be doing in their lives? And therefore, how do you reach them? Have all of that match up. And then in terms of mindset, this is really great because it's thinking about not just you as an author, but really thinking about putting a spotlight on your audience. Thinking about how you can give before you receive. How you can build real relationships with your readers, authentic relationships. And then how you grow and maintain that by leveraging exactly what Marissa was talking about earlier, which was this growth mindset. That it's not that things are fixed, it's not either or, it's not that you're trading off, it's not if your friend who's an author made a sale, that's a lost sale for you, and actually that the pie can grow. Is a huge mindset shift. I spoke at a Women Who Write conference earlier this year, and mindset came up because one woman, she raised her hand and she said, you know what, I love writing, but I just don't feel comfortable marketing myself. I don't even feel comfortable putting the title of my book at the bottom of my email signature. And I know this woman, sweet woman, Ginger. She writes children's books because when she was little, she was hit by a car, she survived, she's okay, but she wrote a book, look left, look right, look left, because she wants to teach children how to cross the street safely. So I said to Ginger, it's okay. You don't have to feel bad about putting the title of your book in your email signature, because it's not that the spotlight is on you. You're not putting the title of your book in your email signature because you're trying to get the attention for yourself. It's because as authors, just like Richard Branson said, entrepreneurs have an idea to help other people. She had an idea to help other people. And so if she changed her mindset that actually putting the title of her book in her email signature was about putting a spotlight on her audience, about helping those children, about helping those parents. It wasn't about her. It actually completely shifted how she felt about it. Because I think authors sometimes love to write and they feel like the marketing piece is so, such a burden. But if you shift that perspective, you're doing it because you're amplifying your good work into the world, it completely shifts your mindset. And I know it made a big difference for her, so it's something to think about. All right, so let's put it all together. We just went through 5 principles. You guys have been amazing sitting through the 5 principles. I'm going to take you through one case study, and then I've left some time for questions. So think about what you want to ask about and what you want to discuss, what's most helpful for you. I'm sharing a case study from a friend of mine. I interviewed her to be able to prepare this presentation, and she said it was totally fine to share this. Has anyone heard of Karen Tanabe? Has anyone read Karen Tanabe? So, she's a fascinating author, and although she probably didn't consciously go through all 5 of these principles, her work reflects how these principles come to life. In terms of relentless pursuit of near-perfect product, she wrote multiple books. She started as a journalist, so writing was in her blood, in her profession. When she moved to fiction, she published multiple books before she had one that really caught people's attention. She really focused on her craft. She did not skip there at all. In terms of getting more promoters than detractors, her net promoter score, she uses social media, but it's not huge. Look at those numbers. It's not like she has 10,000, 100,000 followers. And so this, again, is back to that idea, if you remember the pie chart, where I said it's not all about social media, that actually there are other ways to build that following. And what she did was she leveraged her work as a journalist to be able to use media. So the way she got her awareness that then translated into trial and repeat and creating fans that created the ripple effect of word of mouth was through having articles in newspapers, and she's lucky enough, she lives in DC, and she was interviewed, and her books were reviewed in the Washington Post and USA Today, New York Times. She was on NPR, and she also leveraged her own networks. She's an alum at Vassar, so they wrote up an article about her. Think about all of the places that you've had in your life that you can tap into. All of the organizations, your previous schools, all of that network. And then a little bit of test and learn and mindset. So this is really interesting. When she writes, we talked about that brand promise earlier. What drives somebody to write? Why? What is their message they're trying to get out there? She is half Japanese and half Belgian. She thinks there's something really powerful about having a foot in 2 different cultures, and how do you, process that as a child? How does that reflect in terms of your own self-identity? How are you therefore judged when you're out in the world? These are really important topics to her, and also to her twin brother, who was actually the impetus behind Loving Day being a national holiday, the day we celebrate when the Supreme Court allowed biracial marriage. And my kids, who are half Chinese, which I am ancestrally, and half Dutch, which is how I got my long last name, they wouldn't exist if it weren't for that, right? And so she incredibly believes in this, and this is the heart of what she writes about. So one of her books, The Gilded Years, which is it's based on a true story of a woman who was half African American, but was very fair-skinned and was able to get into a college that wouldn't have accepted her if they had known that she was half African American. Graduated from this college, and the amount of torment she had to go through to try to hide her identity and who she was, to be able to be successful in that environment. Huge success story, because Reese Witherspoon has picked up that book and is now making that into a film. They've already cast it. It's not just optioned, it's real, it's coming to life. So it's an exciting case study to look at. certainly. Okay, so we just ran through. You guys are still with me, right? We just ran through what is brand, how important is visual identity and being consistent, which I can do entire workshops on those. But we focused on the 5 principles of building platform, which have to do somewhat with marketing tactics, but also marketing strategy and thinking about what you're trying to achieve and who you're trying to connect with. And all of that is in service of your success and amplifying your good work into the world. So I wish you guys a ton of success. I will say that I would be happy to keep in touch and honored to keep in touch with any and all of you. There are ways to see me speak at other conferences, including coming up this Friday in November next year. My contact information is there. I also have business cards, and I have a newsletter you can sign up for. I have surveys because I would love to get your feedback, and for every survey that gets returned, I have a Snickers bar.
Marketing.
Yes, chocolate sells amazingly. So, we have gone through a lot. What questions do you have?
In terms of platform, I'm one of the people that did do nonfiction. When you were just starting out, it was like my first manuscript in nonfiction, I know the publishers are really looking for you to bring the platform with you when you are coming with your first thing. If you were just starting out, like I know what my platform is, it's very basic, but how to then highlight those basics or to give them the feel that, like, how can you sell yourself to, like, I know what my abilities are and I know my commitment level is, but how can you then translate that to them that are maybe just seeing a little bit on a page as opposed to a whole bunch?
So the question is how to really sell your platform, how to have your platform show up in a powerful way. So when you say there's just a little bit showing up, what are you saying?
I'm looking mostly at my experience. I have some social media. I have the work ethic, I think is really important. And I've had a couple of times where I've spoken, but I don't have anything published. I'm just building my website.
Right.
But it's certainly not an established, 10,000 followers and
Yeah.
I don't know how much that works against you. And how do you get to that point if the platform is important? Do you have to put your projects on hold until that happens? Or?
Yeah, I mean, these are hard questions, right? This is very much reality. You're bringing up a lot of great points around how do you juggle between the writing and trying to build your numbers so that you have something to show publishers. And I think it's a combination, and I don't know your numbers, but you probably need to have something that's sizable enough to get their attention. I think also a big theme of what we talked about today, and what Marissa really underscored, was the idea that you don't, so this is probably more what a traditional publisher is looking for. Those numbers, to be able to show the platform, to show how many people you can reach, and therefore how many people you can translate to sales. But a big, theme of today is the fact that indie publishing is a very viable route. If you indie publish, you will still need to be able to reach those people, though. And it is thinking about, for your topic, who's going to be most interested, and where are they, and how to reach them. And I think that the balance between the writing and the building a platform is, I think that's a very real struggle. And I would, each person's individual, but I would hate for a writer to not write at all and be able to just work on platform. I think that's why the very first principle is relentless, pursuit of near perfect product, because I think that craft and what you put into the work is so important, and I wouldn't want to give that short shrift in order to build a marketing platform. And I'm saying that as a marketer. This is my career as a marketer. What else? What are you guys curious about? What new, and think about what new concepts you heard. I'd love to hear what you guys thought.
So I noticed on the slide with your pie chart that you didn't have search on there. Would you say that's not a viable technique in marketing a book, or would you say that's something that we could look into? Because just from research, I haven't seen a whole lot of authors marketing through search.
So the question is around search as a tactic, and I think that organic search, of course, is wonderful to get, but if you can afford to buy search, I think that's a very viable way because, you know, and it depends on who you're trying to reach, but so many people are online and searching that, you know, of course, if you can afford that, I would say search is definitely worth investing in. Yeah.
Would you say that should be like a larger part? Because I know that's a lower funnel tactic, and it probably would work well with what you're doing on social. It's just something that.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I think for any question around marketing tactics, there probably is no blanket answer that is true and right for every person because each person is doing something unique and different. So it might depend on your circumstances, and if you want to chat a little afterwards, we can talk about what you're trying to achieve and see if, you know, how search might play into your marketing plans. Yes.
For Karen Nadi, did she publish her books? Was she self-published or did she do traditional or after?
So the question is about Karen Tanabe. She is published through Simon & Schuster, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's traditionally published. Yeah. Yeah.
When you have limited funds, is there one area that's better than another to try?
Yeah, so limited funds. I mean, this is such reality for authors, right? And I think that sometimes the wisdom is that email lists are really great because that's something you own as opposed to if you create a Facebook group, they can change rules on you. And that, you know, so those are people you actually have a one-to-one relationship with. And so building email lists is something that authors are focused on. The word free is very powerful in marketing terms, if you can give something away for free. I would say though, in general, if you think about just the low attention spans and the world that we live in with so much, you know, as authors, we're not just competing with other books and books within your genre. You're competing for attention among lots of things that people could be doing. They could be turning to Netflix and, you know, binge watching Game of Thrones or whatever instead of reading your book. So you're competing with a lot of stuff, and the email is the same thing. A lot of email feels like spam to people now. You know, they are a little people are overwhelmed in general. So if you're going to send something, I think it has to be of value. And it has to be, again, the mindset, the spotlight needs to be on the audience. That you're doing it not because this is just me personally, this is what I feel, is that you're, when you send out that email, it's not to promote you. Occasionally it can be, but it's really because you're trying to do something of service, you're trying to give something to the audience. That's my belief.
I have a question. It sort of ties to that, and you think of that, asking about like money and like being able to raise enough money to self-publish it. And I'm also an actor, and I know a lot of my friends who are actors, they like to create their own work and stuff like that. And they'll do like a Kickstarter campaign, and like and I guess there's random rich people that kind of go around and look for things to contribute to. And so people need like a lot of money that way, and I wonder what your thoughts are on like starting a campaign for your book and like to help you self-publish it or whatever. Like that would be a good idea. I'm not sure.
That's such a creative idea, right? So the question is around using Kickstarter to fund your book. And I think done well, that can be great. I was just looking into, Eric Ries is a business speaker, and he actually started a Kickstarter campaign for a book after he wrote The Lean Startup. And he raised, I think, $500,000. But his first book was a bestseller, and he was really well known. So he had the platform to be able to tap into, to get the word of mouth, to get a Kickstarter campaign to be successful. Now, the word of caution there was a little bit of backlash because people who donated to the campaign and expected to get books weren't 100% satisfied. So there was some negative comments on there. And so if you're going to do it, you have to feel like you can reach enough people to get people to know about your Kickstarter campaign, and you have to be able to deliver so that you keep everybody satisfied, right? But I think it's really creative, and I think marketing is an act of creativity. Just like writing is an act of creativity. That's the other mindset shift. Instead of dreading and like, oh God, I have to do that marketing crap, like marketing is an act of creativity too. And how do you apply, we are all creative people in this room. How do we apply our creativity to how we market? It can be a whole new way to think about it. So I love the Kickstarter idea. Thanks for sharing.
Back here.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a lot of friends who are authors, and they go to conferences and stuff like that. And there's always that goodie room where they have all the stuff with their names on it, of their books, and their postcards of their books, stuff like that. Do you really think that's effective?
Yeah, the question is about the swag in a goodie
Right.
room. I think you probably have you ask it as a question, but I bet you have a point of view. I can tell from the tone of your voice, and I think my point of view matches up with your point of view, which is probably the swag, especially at a writer's conference. I mean, basically what you're doing is you're creating awareness among other authors. That's not, if money is no object, it's not like it's going to be detrimental, but in terms of ROI or return on investment, it probably isn't your highest ROI tactic to pursue because, if you're trying to, create awareness and then therefore get trial among the audience that's going to resonate with your message, that's unlikely that is your audience unless you're selling a book to authors to help them with their craft or whatever. It's unlikely that tactic is going to be the highest ROI. And I'm thinking you're feeling the same way just from the way you asked the question, but thank you.
Well, I think a lot of people just go to see what they can get, the free candy, the chapstick, the hand sanitizer, the pen.
Sure, it builds some goodwill. I mean, thank you. Hi there.
Hi, I just, as a comment on that, I'm a school librarian, and going to conferences where you get that kind of swag from authors, there are certain things that really do resonate with the kids. If you're writing for kids, bookmarks are fantastic. Bookmarks are great because the kids always want to bookmark the book that they check out.
Yeah.
And buttons are really good. There are just certain things that are really, postcards are not.
It's not functional.
Not functional.
So
but
yeah, what I'm hearing, thank you so much for the build. The build is that if it's a functional piece of swag, that could, be carried around. And therefore your brand is in someone's hand when they're reading. That's not a bad thing. Thank you for that build. Excellent. All right, how are we? We have time for one or two more questions, and I also would love to hear, even if you don't have a question, what was an aha moment for you when we talked about brand and visual identity and 5 principles around platform? And how do you want to action that? When we leave this room tonight at 5 or whenever it ends, what action are you going to take?
I'm gonna set some targets for the awareness, trial, and repeat.
Yay! Yay!
I love the funnel.
We have one setting objectives for awareness, trial, and repeat. Thank you.
We were able to consult earlier too, and I'm gonna go home and sit and think about what it is that I'm trying to say by writing all these books first.
Excellent.
What am I trying to get at?
Yes, Carol and I had an amazing conversation this morning where she shared, really why she wants to write and what is her promise out into the world, and therefore she's going to give that some more thought and have that help drive her marketing. Thank you for sharing.
I think that the thing that was the big moment was that brand and visual identity are separate entities.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Love that. Because sometimes at writers' conferences, they just mash them together. Like your brand is your website. I'm like, oh, brand is a concept. And then your visual identity is how you manifest it.
The content beneath the visual identity, really.
Yes. Excellent. I love that you picked up on that nuance. Thank you for sharing.
I had 3 things jump out. Number 1, the net promotional score and how it's really 9s and 10s that matter. That just like, wow. I love the butterfly image of just that rippling and the reaching out. You can start small and it can grow. But then the thing that really struck me was that to always have the spotlight on the audience. And I think sometimes as authors, we sometimes forget that we're not promoting ourselves or our book, we're promoting why. Why are we writing?
That was lovely. I don't know if everyone could hear that. It's like net promoter score, the butterfly effect, and spotlight on the audience were 3 concepts that really stood out as aha moments. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Who else?
I think for me it was also the butterfly effect because for marketing stuff, I've just been so hesitant to even start and thinking like, oh, it's all or nothing. If I don't get signed, then what's the point? But to get to that point, you have to actually start creating interest.
Yes, so true. So go ahead and get started, even if you don't have a finished book. And I mean, in fact, once you have the finished book, it might be a little too late, and maybe it's better to start earlier. One of the networks that people often forget, because people are thinking about Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, is LinkedIn. Especially if you're writing nonfiction and even memoir, LinkedIn tends to be more of a business network. I have a lot of contacts on LinkedIn, and that is another place. You have to, you don't want to be too spammy what you put out there. It needs to be at an elevated level. You need to come across really professional. It's really the professional side of you. But don't forget about that as another resource to connect with people, with authors, with publishers. Yeah. Thank you for the sharing. What else is on your mind? Hello.
I like the idea of speaking at events. Because I'm kind of thinking, well, I've got some expertise in my topic now, and I can start small, even with like the local libraries, and just perhaps get known.
Yes, so Marilyn has an idea to speak at events, which she has experience in, and also builds her platform because it creates credibility in her area of expertise. That then she can write in her bio, which was your earlier question, is how do you, if you don't seem to have a huge, number of followers, how do you build up that bio? Speaking is a great way to build that repertoire. Yeah, thank you for sharing. What else? Hi.
So as I've been writing and drafting my book, I've been sort of tweeting my progress. Do you think that's effective?
Well, you tell me. So you're tweeting your book as you're going, and so what response are you getting as you're tweeting your book?
I'm not getting response. I don't have that many followers right now.
So then it's a great question, and I love that you raised that, because I think then it's about what tactics do you want to take on first, second, and third. And so maybe, if you're having fun tweeting out your progress, go for it. There's no harm in it. But also you want to be growing your followers, looking for people who could be interested in what you're doing and following them, and so that they follow you back. And then if people don't follow you, then, unfollow them. But start to try to build that so that you have a bigger following, so that your message is reaching more people, and maybe looking for that content to be in multiple places. If it's just on Twitter, are there other places that same content could go? And then effective use of hashtags is important too. To find the right hashtags that people are interested in, are following. There are the standard ones like am writing, or there's some hashtags that you can use that are pretty effective.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do people want to build on that? Yeah.
I was gonna say, with the documenting, I just started doing that on my personal, because I have a business for my blog, but I do it on my personal, and my friends and family are supportive, so that's enough to fuel it to push it along on the other platform.
So you have one platform that's helping another platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, this morning Carol and I had a good conversation about that, how even things that seem really disparate can still build together into one thing. And it can be disparate because it's different genres, for instance, as Carol's writing in, or it can be different manifestations of that same brand promise. Writing is one medium, but there's also speaking. There's also other mediums to get the same promise and content out, and to think about all of those. Think about a 360 effect beyond just the one. So thank you for bringing that up and sharing that. You're welcome.
I just wanted to build on that. Tweeting out your progress is really great, and it helps you come across more relatable. But one of the things that you want to also keep in mind is providing something of value. So if you're providing writing tips or retweeting what other people are tweeting and engaging in conversations, that's going to help you grow your followers. That's really going to give you that audience, so that when you start tweeting out your progress, people are going to engage more with it.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, questions? Ready for Snickers? All right, I'm going to pass around a couple of things. Thank you guys so much. That was an amazing conversation. I loved it. Please pass this around if you want to sign up for my email list. I don't send out stuff very often. It's if I find something from a marketing perspective I think is worth sharing, that's when I share that out. So feel free to sign up for it. And then here are some, and then these are feedback forms.
So what is the fee?
Oh, it's a free email list. Yes, thank you. So feel free to fill out some feedback forms. Everyone. What's that? Yes, yes. Please, just let me know what you liked, what you would change. I'm definitely open to your feedback. Thanks. Hi. How are you? Good. Thank you. Around. Here you go. Thanks. Did you get one? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Hey, do you want one?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thank you. Here you go. So there might be two there. Thank you. And I'm opening up these Snickers.
That came right on time.
Art.
Honestly, if you didn't bring some of that from Jordan stuff, I would.
Do you have? I don't know. I'm like, gosh. I have scissors. Oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, really? Thanks. Are you twins? Good. Chocolate. Chocolate. Oh, yes. Do you want the last like that?
So guys, when you're done with those, you could take a quick break if you need one, and then we'll get started on contracts.
Explain one way that brand and visual identity can work together, how I thought about my brand the very first time I ever pitched any agents or editors. I was at Writer's Digest, and their pitch slam is intense. You get 90 seconds to pitch your story and 90 seconds of feedback, and then they get to tell you, do they want full, partial, anything. So I was like, oh, what's unique about me? Well, my marketing experience is one thing that's unique about me. So when I met the agents and editors, I pitched them and gave them my business card in a container with M&Ms, and I chose pink M&Ms, and then I dressed to match. So then, when they asked for my manuscript, and I wrote them an email to say, thank you, lovely to meet you, my first line was, I hope the pink M&Ms sweetened your day. Every single agent and editor remembered me, and that's actually how I met my agents. Yeah, was through M&Ms. That's awesome.
Has anybody here been to?
Yeah, do I have to say my name or just?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. Ready?
Go.
Hi, I'm Nikki Meni. I have just taken my second seminar with Carol for marketing, and the best thing I could say to you is that you will never be disappointed. You will come away with many, many things to execute and put into your plan for marketing and branding yourself. She's easy to follow, she's poised, she's knowledgeable, and for me, when I walk away, I'm motivated and ready to take on anything that I was questioning, or any questions that I did have on how to address a marketing issue is completely answered. You will always feel like you have come away with value, because every session I have taken so far, organization is definitely the top priority with her. Her slides are always to the point and to the T, and her personality really just jumps out and takes over. So I really recommend her. Thank you.
The same thing again?
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Nikki Meni, and I am just taking my second session with Carol for marketing, and I have to tell you that no matter where I am or what, I have to start again. Sorry,
You have to start over, it's
I'm falling
okay.
down on what I said.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
I'll just keep it
All right.
rolling. You just
Hi, I'm
start.
Nikki Meni. I'll start again. Hi, I'm Nikki Meni. I have just finished taking my second seminar with Carol for marketing. You will walk away every time feeling that you have
come away with value from her knowledge. She's poised and executed. And every time I have taken her seminar, I have left with things to execute into my own plan. Any questions I had about marketing are completely answered. And she truly is remarkable to watch. She is poised when she speaks, so she literally grabs your attention right from the door. Her slides and her seminars are organized and easy to follow, and every time I leave, I can't wait for the next one.
Just say who you are and what you think of Carol and her seminars.
Okay. My name is Lee YY Piano, and I think that Carol's seminar on marketing and author platform and branding were really kind and flexible explanation. I think she was really patient with everybody with describing her presentation as well as answering a lot of the questions. She took a very flexible approach, so if somebody were to ask a question about something very specific, there was no wrong or right, just how you can center your branding or what your goals are around that tool or that technique that she explored and tried to teach.
Okay, go.
Hi, I'm Laura Mondroy. I attended Carol's seminar and I felt that she was very enthusiastic and passionate about what she speaks about when it comes to marketing.
Anything else?
She just solidified the difference between branding and visual identity and what the difference is, and I did not know that, so I'm appreciative of attending her seminar.
Tall.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so just say what you think about Carol's presentation and why you liked it.
I liked Carol's presentation because I thought it was thoughtful. She covered all the points that I really wanted to hear. I loved the whole branding thing. Whoever considers themselves to be branded, especially as a writer, but in today's world, you really have to stand out. And Carol gives succinct, wonderful presentation on how you can build your presence in the web and elsewhere. I think I'm going to take her advice and run with it.
And be honest, like, is it easier for me to leave? Like, is it awkward if I'm...
No, it's not awkward. I'm just awkward in general, and you know, so you can probably edit all this out. So
just your name and then that what you just heard and what you think of it.
Okay, well, my name is Rachel. I really enjoyed Carol's marketing presentation. She did a great job mixing general concepts with specific examples of how they can be applied in the real world.
Okay, anytime you want.
I'm Kayla Nelson, and I just had the pleasure of listening to Carol speak. She just gave an amazing talk to us all about how to properly market ourselves and how to build a brand and the difference between our brand and our visual identity. It was great. Everything she said was super applicable. And now I know how to market creatively thanks to her.
Ready?
Hi, my name is Kayla Nelson, and I just had the pleasure of listening to Carol speak. She helped us learn the difference between branding yourself and your own visual identity, and just now I know how to market myself creatively as opposed to strategically. So it was a really great experience, and I'd definitely go to one of her workshops again.
Okay, just say your name and then just...
Oh no, just in case I need help. Hi, I'm Tessa Schaefer, and I loved Carol's presentation at the Authorpreneur workshop here, and she taught us all some great lessons about marketing, especially for authors, and how it's not just about us, it's about our customer, which is the readers, and we have lots of great takeaways from her presentation.
There's a lot going on in the world now that makes
Yeah.
those topics really relevant right
Yeah.
now. I think people want to hear that message,
I know.
and they were looking for something
So
to
I'm
give
glad
them
that it's getting a
inspiration. and
reboot,
hope.
although it's never not stopped selling, right?
It's true. It still sells.
That's why
24 years later, it's still selling really
so
well.
is there like a relaunch date or something, or it's just?
So it was on 9/9/18. Make sure I have the date right. No, it's actually 9/18/18. So it was on September 18th.
Oh, so it already did
was
relaunch.
The
Oh,
relaunch,
okay.
and now we're in that process of relaunching. Yeah. So in fact, there's a group called Mystic Misfits, which I connected Hachette with them because they're doing all this video content talking about synchronicity, Celestine prophecy, all of that. Yeah, check them out, like their posts, share their videos.
Yeah, I actually submitted articles to his Celestine Prophecy website and stuff.
Yeah,
'cause he
yeah,
lets
Celestine
people
Vision.
he
Yeah.
lets people guest ring and stuff.
And
so
did you
I didn't
hear
hear back
back?
from any so far, but I think I only submitted one to him. And I've been busy writing books, so I've been writing as many articles.
Which is
but
the
it's
right
part of the
focus.
promoting, I do all those other things.
Yeah.
So.
I mean,
It's exciting though. So.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I'll keep an eye
Thank
out
you for letting
the-
me know there's that connection.
Oh yeah, totally.
Tell me your last name.
Schaefer.
Okay.
It's all yours. Hi.
Hi, I'm Ann Daleview. I loved Carol's presentation. Her explanation around the importance of building awareness as well as setting actionable goals and objectives that have numerical value associated with them is so important. I think it's really great how we can strive to achieve certain goals for ourselves in terms of growing our platform and look at all sorts of different channels to do that with. I don't have anything else.
Anytime you want. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Teal James Glenn. I'm a writer and was floored by Carol's presentation. It was incredibly focused, very all-encompassing in making very clear the kind of steps you have to take to build a brand, move a brand, and keep yourself evolving as a creative person. So that you can do enough business to continue to be creative. And I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, just a moment to catch my thoughts here.
No problem.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay. You go. Look right in the camera.
Okay. My name is Marilyn Ostermiller. I attended Carol's talk today, and she really unlocked my mind as far as marketing my book. I always looked at it as some gigantic task that I didn't have the time for, and she gave me lots of ideas that I could implement right away and build on.
From Carol specifically,
Yeah.
presentation. Okay, awesome. Whew. Make sure I don't have man hair. Okay. Hi, my name's Erin Dahl. I loved Carol's presentation today because, well, she's very aspirational for one. She's so fabulous. So that already was like very inspiring. And I feel that she gave a lot of really good advice, marketing wise, that just sort of like to put yourself out there. And the way she elaborated it was very, like succinct. So it was very effective, and it was like a presentation that like you just stayed engaged with. And yeah, I loved it. So thank you, Carol.
My name is Naya. What I loved about the presentation was just how it was so very informative with, you know, we should have started yesterday with marketing ourselves, and that just, caring about not only our product, but the audience that the product is for, and that it enables you to, put out something that's perfect for them. So it's not just for yourself, and it kind of takes the weight off of you a little bit just to make something that's near perfection for them. To want to do your best to give them a perfect product, a perfect brand of who you are and what you work so hard for. And that's what I loved about the presentation.